Hey, what's up guys, it's ElasticSpyder here, and in today's video we're going to be looking at the Tier 6 Soviet cruiser, the Budyonny. And in today's video we're going to be, well, enjoying ourselves with some Tier 8 battles. So if you are interested in watching some gameplay of the Budyonny, please stay tuned. Alright, so now that we are into the replay, let's go over my captain build. So my captain build, well, I'm running priority target, Adrenaline Rush, Demo, Expert, and IFHE. Now, as well, you might be wondering, well, why is your captain so low? You know, why don't you just put in your Moscow captain? And this is because I'm playing on a different account. I'm playing on my alt account. And I decided that I wanted to grind up the Russian tech tree, I guess, just for the fun of it. At the time of recording of this replay, I do believe that I am running the, I am running the upgraded guns, and or I guess the upgraded hull, I should say, and the upgraded range. So, if you are playing the stock, it's going to vary a little bit. But for the most part, that's kind of what I'm running. Now, there is a good argument for running Concealment Expert over IFHE, but considering that I at least value the IFHE part of this more than I do the concealment, I think that that's a better thing to choose, because if you can't pen your enemies, you know, how are you going to do damage to them? Obviously you can do damage via fire, but that little bit of extra damage from HE spamming is always nice and always helpful. So that being said, well, what are my modules? My modules are main battery modification, or main battery armaments, damage control, aiming systems, get a little bit better accuracy. Don't really need the increased AA range since I do have defensive fire. And then obviously steering gears. Now there's also another argument for, you know, using, let's say, propulsion. But for me, I think the steering gears is a little bit more important, considering this ship has, well, a rather, I'm hesitant to say lackluster, but a rather lackluster rudder shift time at 11.28 seconds if you're using the B hull. Now, you know, obviously if you use my build and you go with rudder shift, you can get it down to around 9-ish seconds, which isn't, you know, obviously awful, but, you know, being such a, again, I guess, light cruiser, it is sometimes difficult to be able to dodge those shells with a 11.5 second rudder shift time. And when you consider the turning radius of 820 meters, well, you can get into situations where you're broadside for a little bit longer than you would like. Now, with that being said, the Budyonny does have decent armor for its tier. It's got a 115 millimeter main belt, which is actually pretty good. A lot of cruisers, even at tier 10, you know, are around there. Mainly like Minotaur and Worcester and things like that. And considering some of the heavily armored cruisers at tier 10 at least are at 152, and you suddenly realize that the Budyonny can actually bounce quite a bit of shells, especially from enemy cruisers, and occasionally, if you know how to angle and whatnot, against enemy battleships. Now there is a little caveat to that: the armor isn't all that. That is because the bow is only 13 millimeters, and well, 13 millimeters means you're going to get overmatched by all 203. So if you do end up seeing, well, let's see if there's any in this, like a New Orleans or Baltimore, well, you better watch out for those ships, because they can overmatch your bow and citadel you straight through. Now this Fiji, he's spent a little bit too much time. I've been trying to blind fire him in smoke, but I do finally get that one citadel I was looking for. Now I'm going to try and get some more. Now these guns are rather punchy, as you can see. They have a pretty, I would say, a fairly flat trajectory, and that is good, and it's pretty typical for all Russian cruisers throughout the line. You really at tier 5 is when you start to get those nice flat arcs, and even all the way up from that point, tier 5, you just get insane flat arcs. You know, these guns continue up all the way up till, I believe, well, they're not the same gun, but these type of guns are, you know, they go all the way up the line, which is awesome. So we get to kill that Fiji. We did lose a bit of our hit points, so we're now down to 2/3 of, you know, 30,800, which for tier 6 isn't awful. If you're looking at something like this New Orleans, which is, you know, one tier higher, he's got 5,000, roughly 5,000 more HP than you. So you know, you've got a decent amount of hit points. Obviously, you just want to use them to the best of your ability. Now here, I'm kind of in a bad situation. The reason I pushed up this far was so I could actually kill that Fiji, but now I've got a North Carolina and a Kutuzov out here, and you know what? Since I didn't take that concealment, you know that I cannot risk the idea of even going out here for a second. If I do end up doing that, I'm going to have to kite, and obviously getting spammed by IFHE Kutuzov, and then also a 16-inch North Carolina. I'm not going to enjoy that very, very much. So with that said, I'm just going to kind of keep my cool rather, and back up and use this island for protection. And hopefully, it looks like this KGV was actually going to go around the island, which means as soon as he does, I can kind of maneuver myself better so that I can come straight out. And in the meantime, I think I'll farm some damage while I'm at it. Now, since I do use IFHE, you know, these will vary a little bit, but stock, you are looking at a 12% fire chance, which I mean, we haven't seen too much of here. For the most part, we have been shooting a lot of AP and getting a few shell hits here and there. But when you do have a 12% fire chance, it's not that bad. Now, taking into account IFHE, which I believe reduces 3%, so you go down to 9. But then you add 2 more with Demo Expert, then you go back up to 11. So again, it's not terrible, but 11% is at least it's enough to get you by in most situations. Obviously, you're still under the wrath of RNG, so you have to be careful of that. But when you consider the 8-second reload time, well, I mean, it's not all that bad. So we're going to be farming this KGV here a little bit, you know, abusing the islands. And again, that was probably the most important, at least in my opinion, one of the most important things about this replay is keeping my cool and not, you know, always going forward. In World of Warships, you've got a pretty good tendency to always go forward, and you know, sometimes you have to break that habit and, you know, reassess the situation and your positioning, and that's, you know, something I also want to hit on in this video is positioning is always key, no matter what ship you are in. If you got good positioning, even though if you maybe lack DPM versus another ship, you know, most of the time if you have good positioning, your teammates can hopefully help you out, and even if they can't, well, you still have good positioning, so you are able to counter them, I guess, rather effectively. So with a couple fires burning on the KGV, I think it's safe for me to finally go out, and now we get to test some AP here. And, well, if you do get a flat broadside, you can do some pretty hefty salvos. First salvo out, 4 pens, 1 overpen, and 3 shatters for about 4k. I aimed a little bit high there because I noticed it looks like he might be turning out a little bit, and he also is about to go behind the island. So I want to try and get a fire, at least so I can, you know, obviously increase my well, that replay is messed up. At least it kind of increased my damage a little bit here and there, and also maybe make him consider burning his damage control, which is always something that you want to do. So with that being said, basically we're kind of in a tough position here. I do realize that this guy is in MIA, and I think that he'll be able to communicate at least somewhat effectively with me, and I say, hey, look, we've got this Nagato. I can't really kite any way against any of the ships with this Nagato here, so let's try and take him out. And then I do believe we also have Kagero that was spotted a long time ago, but I'm sure he's somewhere in the vicinity as well, as you'll see in a few minutes. That holds true. So I know that I have to kind of help this Gneisenau out push. If I just start kiting now, it'll be lost. But obviously, when I'm on half of my hit points, I can't be taking so many shots. So I'm going to end up having to turn out here. And knowing that the Nagato does have a 32-second reload, I can spend that little bit extra time making sure I turn in and avoid all the shells. Now, if this was something like a North Carolina, or maybe a battleship that is, you know, at least reloads a little bit quicker, you know, I might not have been able to make this turn. So now that this Nagato has actually turned out, that means that's a cue for me. Hey, look, I gotta go. I gotta go help this Gneisenau now. Even though I do have spotter plane, obviously I want to be able to you know, counter and hit these shells at these at least ranges, at these closer ranges. And the KGV that I didn't manage to kill pops up again. So now this is going to be a 2v2. Again, we still don't know where exactly the Kagero is, but seeing that those torps are going for the Gneisenau now, it looks like he is somewhat close. Now with the KGV being somewhat low, I'm going to try and help him out, help the Gneisenau out rather, and by killing the KGV, and hopefully my IFHE can kick in here and give me some good RNG. However, the 140 meter dispersion is kind of letting me down a little bit here. I'm sure my aim doesn't help as well, but it looks like we are going to get that kill. We do end up getting that kill on the KGV, and so now we can focus solely on this Nagato. Now, one thing I will say is, when you are trying to angle against shells, I would never go bow on like this. Obviously, being bow on allows you to minimize your target, but if you go kind of an angle like this, try and bait people into shooting at your main belt and then suddenly turning in, that's kind of where I was talking about the rudder shift. You know, a lot of times with your 115 millimeter main belt, you can bounce a lot of shells. Now at these ranges, you know, 13 kilometers, it's a little bit more difficult to bounce, since most of the shells are actually coming in from above rather than coming more at a flat trajectory. So with that being said, obviously you have to, you know, look at the situation at hand and kind of adapt your ship to that. Now if you're kind of brawling, you know, you can do that a lot more often. But, you know, just some tips and tricks, I guess, for just general cruiser play, and this, I guess, more specifically about the Budyonny. And if you do end up getting into close quarters, you do have 4-kilometer torpedoes. I believe it's 4 on each side. I can't quite tell here. Is it 4? I see 1, 2, 3, 4. So it is 5 actually. But I mean, obviously the torpedoes are secondary to your guns. Now, with the benefit of Adrenaline Rush, I'm down to a 7-second reload. That's part of the reason why I love Adrenaline Rush so much. And after spanking that Kagero, well, the KGV does manage to finish him off. And seeing that the Nagato is somewhat broadside, and, well, he unfortunately kills our Gneisenau now, I'm going to have to solo this guy. But seeing that he is burning, let's see if I can't finish him off before his next reload. I switched to AP here just to try and get a little bit more damage out as quickly as possible. And that's actually enough, even though they weren't good salvos, to take him out. And so now we are back on a 4v3. But as you'll see here, well, our New Orleans is practically dead. Our Asashio B has been running and is practically almost dead as well. We've got a Lion on the, what's that, the 9 line, who's just kind of chilling here. So what I'm thinking in my head is, okay, I know the Fiji's at half health. I don't know the health of the Tirpitz or the Kutuzov. So always think worst case. So assuming Tirpitz B is on full health and Kutuzov is on full health, well, that's a lot of carrying to do, considering I'm at 120,000 damage. But I do see that the Tirpitz is on just shy of a quarter. And so I suddenly realized that this is actually still winnable if we all do manage to survive. But I think the New Orleans is probably going to go down here, and I'm a little, yeah, there you go, and I'm still a little worried about the Asashio B. And seeing that the Asashio cannot actually torpedo cruisers, this becomes a game where I'm going to have to carry pretty hard. And again, I don't know the health of the line. He could be on very low health, so I do ask, and luckily people let me know. But unfortunately, the Tirpitz B, when he comes around the corner against that line, is just going to obliterate him. So I'm going to speed this replay up because it does get a little boring here. But I'm just conversing with people who actually did help out quite a bit in chat. So I don't want to open fire on the Kutuzov or the Tirpitz. Well, one, because I could pop my spotter plane, but I do think that I might get spotted here by the Fiji. And I want to kind of keep my stealth up. I don't want him to realize where I'm at. So that being said, well, we do get spotted, and the Fiji is right there. And I do have to make these shots count. He does have double the HP that I have, so I have to be sure that I'm hitting citadels or at least getting pens, and that first salvo was just horrendous, not something that I want. Second salvo, even worse, no shell hits, but the Fiji does make a small mistake and does try to turn. I obviously am able to dodge some of his shells. I quickly switch back to AP, and hopefully I can finish him off here with a deletion. The dispersion is alright, but I only managed to get one citadel. Following a salvo, will I get more citadels? Let's wait and see. 2,500 damage, and ow, almost 5k. That one really did hurt. I switched back to HE just to try and get some more consistent damage. 3,112. I thought that I could actually get a nice AP salvo off, thinking that he might try and get his torpedoes off, but he ends up not doing that. I'm still barely alive on 5,583 HP. The Asashio at 1,263 is very, very close. So I want this guy to stay on cap for as long as possible. The reason being is looking at this scoreboard. Well, they aren't even close to getting on our cap, but we are still on their cap. And I do want to, as you can see, every 6 seconds you get 2 points. And knowing that a destroyer is worth 45 points, I've got to make sure that if the Asashio B does end up getting, for whatever reason, spotted and dies, well, I have to make sure that hopefully we have enough points. The point difference between us is enough such that I don't actually have to kill a 25k HP Kutuzov, because I know that's not a fight that I will ever win. Fortunately for me, though, the Asashio B is going to stay on cap. I'm going to very nearly live here. I'm basically just trying not to run into the island here, as I almost do. And I'm just telling the Asashio B, okay, now it's time to get off, man. We've risked enough, but fortunately for me, Kutuzov, actually I think the Kutuzov does end up spotting the Asashio. Oh no, he's just randomly shooting, and that's actually going to end the replay right there, so GG. So with that being said, with a standard account, we did manage to get 137,000 hit points worth of damage. Not too hot on the credits XP and free XP, but we did manage 3 kills, 4 citadels, and we did complete some tasks, which was kind of fun. Team score wise, 3 ships killed, 2,215 base XP, and obviously I did compliment the MIA Gneisenau, because he did actually help me out, and I think it was pretty important countering those 3 ships that were out there, and that was actually a very good result. We ended up killing 2 tier 7 battleships and a tier 8 tier 8 destroyer, and we only lost a tier 7 battleship, which that's, if you're talking about good trades, that's a very good trade. And then we ended up doing, well, we did lose 25,000 HP, but since we do have 30,000, it ended up being okay. Obviously trying not to get shot at all that much, but we did manage to do potential damage of 800,000. And while fires, as I kind of mentioned, at only 11%, the fires weren't too hot, but we did manage a decent amount there. But most of our damage was actually split between our AP and HE shells, with the HE doing about, was it 50, almost like 60% more. So a very nice game overall, and like I said, standard account, we're still making a decent amount. This isn't like World of Tanks where we're losing credits upon credits upon credits, so that is obviously nice. I hope you guys did enjoy this lower tier replay. If you did, please let me know. Maybe I can do more, or maybe I'll stream more on my alt account. Maybe that's something I should start doing, is obviously play on my alt account more. But I hope you guys liked this lower tier video. If you did, leave a like and share with your friends. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful day, guys, and I'll see you guys later.